Hello everybody, salvete. So in this lesson we're going to be reviewing how to make Latin nouns plural. So how to take a Latin noun and make it be more than one. So hopefully you remember most of this, so that's why it's called a review. If you don't, hopefully it's a good refresher. After this there will be a Google form for you to complete. This one I'm probably going to grade for right or wrong. So make sure you pay close attention during this video. And if you have any questions, let me know, or just rewatch the video. I hope it's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and get started. So, you have a couple of sentences here that you should be more or less familiar with. We have Bob est puer. In English, that means Bob is a boy. Then we have the plural version. Bob et Tim sunt pueri. Bob and Tim are boys. So we're worried about singular versus plural nouns here. In the singular we have puer, just boy. In the plural we have pueri, boys. So again we have puer and pueri. You can see how this word becomes more than one. It goes from singular to plural by adding the letter I, pronounced E. Puer, add the letter I, pueri, boys. Let's look at another example. We have here, Ron est vir. Ron is a man. And in the plural, Ron et Andy sunt viri. So, just like the one before it, we take this word vir and we add the letter I onto it to make it more than one. We have vir, which is the singular, and then viri, which is the plural. Vir, viri. You add the letter I. Okay, so here's the rule, or summary, I guess. Words that end in R or us, the letters US, us, usually become plural by adding the letter I, pronounced E. So the ones that we just saw were R's. We saw puer and vir. But if it ends in a US, it will probably also follow the same rule. It will add an I. So let's look at one of those. Here we have equus, which is a horse, equus, and you can see that ends in us. If you want to make it more than one, you change it to the letter I. So it's equi, equi. The rule actually is that the last US goes away and becomes the letter I. It doesn't just add an I. That's not a rule I'm super concerned that you know right now. Mostly I want you to recognize the ending. The ending I makes it more than one. Recognize that. So, here's another thing. Not every Latin word adds the letter I. E. In Latin, there are many different ways to make words plural. So you should also know this pattern here. Hopefully. Sally est puella, meaning Sally is a girl. And then the plural version, Sally et Bobette sunt puellae. Sally and Bobette are girls. And so what we're worried about here is the singular and the plural. Puella, which is girl, and puellae, which is girls. So this one doesn't add the letter I. This one adds the letter E at the end, like the letter E. to make the ending AE. And this AE is pronounced IE. Like that's how it's said. IE. Puella, puellai. Or better yet, look down here. Puella, puellai. Girl and girls. Let's look at another example. You've probably seen this one already too, for this word. We have Leslie est femina. Leslie is a woman. Leslie et Anne sunt feminae. Leslie and Anne are women. So femina, feminae. Femina, woman. Add the letter E. Feminae, women. So here's the summary for that. Words that end in A become plural by adding the letter E to make the ending. I misspelled that. This should say ending, so add a D there. Ending AE, which is pronounced IE. Pronounced I, like you're a pirate. Aye, captain. So one more example. We have formica, which is an ant. Formicae, ants, plural. This pattern's pretty easy because all you do is add an E onto the A to make AE. So you don't have to worry about it any more than that. Just add the letter E. So I guess you could think of the E kind of like the letter S in English. Formica, formicae. At least think of the letter E like the S only for this pattern, because we said there are different patterns, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. So it is very important to remember that Latin words will only ever have one pattern that they use. We already saw the word for boy. In Latin, it is always puer and pueri. Be careful that you would never say puerai, because that's wrong. Words have their pattern and they stay in their pattern. We've seen two patterns. Puer, pueri, puella, puellai. Don't mix up the patterns. Just to show you what I mean, here's what we saw with the word for boy. We saw the right way of doing it, which was puer, pueri. You add the letter I. That's the correct way to do it. The incorrect way to do it is to mix the pattern up. Puer, puerai. Don't ever say that. That's wrong. You're mixing up the pattern. You're using the wrong pattern. This word will always follow the pattern that it adds the letter I. It won't ever follow the other pattern, which is to add an E. That's wrong. In the same way, we already saw this. The right way to do girl and girls. We saw puella. Add the letter E. Puellai. That's the right way to do it. But don't ever mix it up with the wrong way to do it, which is puella, puelli. So this letter I, like add an I, it's right for puer, it's right for weir, it's right for equus, and a lot of other words. But it's wrong for puella. It's wrong for femina. It's wrong for whatever the third word I used was, formica, ant. And a lot of other words. That's the letter I. It's right for these and wrong for these. Same thing with the letter AE. It's right, we're adding just the letter E. It's right for these words, but it's wrong for these words. And you can't mix them up. You can't jump up and down to different patterns. Each word follows its own pattern, or follows the pattern of its family. Okay, so those two I think were pretty easy for the most part to see. If it had an A, all you have to do is add the letter E. Puella, puellai. Femina, feminae. If it had an us or an R, you add the letter I. Weir, weary. Puer, pueri. Equus, equi. There's a third pattern though. So there is a third pattern of words that adds the ending es, pronounced as, to become plural. These words can be much harder to spot than the first two patterns. So let's look at a couple of examples. You have here, Jerry est Leo. Jerry is a lion. You have the plural, Jerry et Frank sunt leones. Jerry and Frank are lions. So remember how words have their pattern. This one is not the pattern AE. That's not an appropriate ending. Remember, that's for like puella. This word is not an I word, like puer, pueri. The I is good for puer, pueri. Liber, libri, and other words like it. This word adds an ES. Leo, leones. Harder to spot, I think. So one more time, Leo, leones. Let's look at another example. Here you have this dude whose name is Napoleon. Napoleon est dux. Napoleon is a general. And the plural, this dude and this dude, Napoleon and Patton. Napoleon et Patton sunt duques. Napoleon and Patton are generals. So this one, the word goes from dukes to duques. Dukes, duques, adding the letters ES. So singular dukes, plural duques, adding ES. It's a little bit more complicated with this third pattern, right? I'm going to give you a way to figure out always what pattern it is in a second. But right now, just to sum up everything that we've seen, it is very important that you remember how to make a Latin word plural. And it is also very important that you use the right pattern for each word. So remember, the I is appropriate for some words, but not for others. The AE is good for some words, but not for others. The ES is good for some words, but not for others. Okay, and words don't mix them up. Words don't mix up those endings. So here's what you can do. If you forget what to do, you can type any Latin word into the online dictionary called Weektionary. The first row of the word chart gives you the singular and plural forms that we talked about in this lesson. The first row of the word chart. So this is especially helpful, I think, with those third category words that you have a lot of trouble like adding the ending ES on because the word will often do weird things, or just telling what pattern it belongs to. Use the website Weektionary. There was a lesson on this. That was our second lesson we did in our online class. Make sure you've done that. Even if you haven't done it already, make sure you've done it. It shows you how to use the dictionary. So let's say you type in the word puer. It will tell you, like this will pop up, you find Latin, and it will tell you puer, and it will tell you what it means. But the dictionary will also give you a nice chart here. And right now we're worried about this first row. So don't really worry about the rest of this right now. Only worry about the first row. We saw puer and pueri. Well, that's exactly right. Boy and boys. Let's say you typed in the word for girl, and it will tell you, hey, this is what girl can mean. And then it will give you a word chart. And just worry about the first row. Puella, puellai. It gives it to you. All you have to do is type it in. How about the word for lion? Well, you type it in and it will tell you Leo. And then you look in the word chart and the first row. Ignore the rest for now. It will tell you Leo. Leones. So if you don't know what pattern a word belongs to, you can just type it into the dictionary. Like if you have a hard time telling, just type it into the dictionary and it will actually give it to you, which is a nice tool, I think. Okay, so that's the review of singular and plural forms. Just final summary. We had the words that end R or US, add the letter I. Puer, pueri. Liber, libri. That would be book and books. Weir, weary. Equus, equi. Oculus, which is eyeball. Oculus, oculi. Then the second family was A. Words that end A, add the letter E. And remember, AE is pronounced I. I. Puella, puellai. Femina, feminai. Ancilla, ancillai. Mensa, mensai. Sella, sellai. And so on. Then we had the third family, which is a little harder to spot. Adds the letters ES. ES to become plural. So we saw Leo, leones. Dukes, duques. And this one's harder to spot, like I said. The word pater is a part of this family. And mater as well. Pater is one dad. Patres is more than one. Mater, matres. So like I said, this third pattern is a little bit harder to spot. And remember, don't get it confused with the other patterns, because this has the ES. Pater, patres. So the ES is good for this one, but the I isn't, and the AE isn't. Okay, so now that you've done this, go ahead and complete the Google form, which will probably be graded for right or wrong. So if you're confused, use the dictionary, go back and rewatch this video again, because you might have missed something. And that's all, guys. I will see you next time. Walete. Bye.